From high atop the University District, this is your Daily Detroit for Monday, May 13th, 2019. I'm Sven Gustafson.
And I'm Jer Stays. Did you know it's Stevie Wonder's 69th birthday today? Happy birthday to you.
Yes, indeed. Happy birthday, Stevie Wonder. Jer, this past weekend, you survived the Madison Heights bar crawl, and you're here to tell about it.
I made it through a sea of $3 Long Islands.
Oh, God.
Altiz, that new Altiz beer that they're apparently labeling it as craft.
Really?
Yes, it was served as craft beer out of the tap, so I waded through that.
Yeah, and how was the Altiz?
It was
Swilly?
Yes, and I must say though, Selena's, that place is starting to warm in my heart a little bit. They have a really awesome bike rack out front now.
Really? So they're like an urbanist bar in Madison Heights now on 11 Mile. That's so cool.
Somebody page Dave Gifford. This episode of Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Milo. Milo is a marketing agency that produces amazing experiences for audiences. They partner with their clients to drive business and create innovative content. Do cool stuff with them at milo.agency.
The Ilitch organization will receive another $74 million in taxpayer subsidies for the District Detroit. Reports say that's because they hit their contractual obligations under a deal negotiated when the city of Detroit was under control of an emergency manager. Under the deal, the Ilitches had to do $200 million in so-called ancillary development. They hit that number by building a pair of parking decks, an office space for Google inside Little Caesars Arena, and their own new corporate headquarters building taking shape on Woodward Avenue. The Ilitch organization has been the focus of many critical reports lately. They've taken $324 million in subsidies to build an arena and some 24 surface parking lots and parking decks in their part of town, which is labeled District Detroit. This, instead of a vibrant 50-block retail, residential, and office development mixed-use district that was promised to sell the deal to the public.
So, Sven, this deal that was negotiated by the emergency manager and the state seems like a flat-out giveaway. I noticed in press reports that finally the mayor is starting to change his tune a little bit about this and saying, although I was elected, I wasn't allowed to be a part of these conversations. I think that's very smart for him.
Probably. Well, and when the city was under emergency manager, I mean, he was essentially a mayor in title only until the city, got back on its feet.
Exactly. But the thing is that there's a really big long-term impact around this. And I've talked to quite a few people around town. This is raising a lot of red flags, and it really reinforces skepticism about other deals with big taxpayer subsidies. I mean, we all know that subsidies are a part of almost every deal in the city of Detroit. The city's tax structure, the way it's set up, the cost of doing business in the city is too high. It's very difficult to do a deal without massive subsidies. And this is going to make it hard for future businesses to get any sort of deal through because people are going to rightly look at what's happened here with the Ilitches and go, well, is this really what we really want to do? Specifically, that Jeep FCA deal we talked about last week, looks like that's starting to get slowed down in city council.
Yes, indeed. Well, I wonder, going back to District Detroit, quite honestly, whether this means that they're done. I mean, they've gotten now $400 million, including this new clause that just kicked in. What's the incentive for them to do anything more? They could just kind of say, we fulfilled our contractual obligation. We're done. Here's the District Detroit.
Imagine a place. And yes, you'll have to imagine. John Beilein is leaving his job as coach of the University of Michigan men's basketball team to take over as head coach of the NBA's Cleveland Cavaliers. Beilein leaves after 12 years in Ann Arbor as the winningest coach in school history. He took the Wolverines to the national championship games in 2018 and 2013 and won 2 Big Ten titles and 2 Big Ten tournament titles. Michigan last year finalized a new contract with Beilein that was designed to keep him at the school until retirement. But Beilein was also a finalist for the vacant coaching position last year with the Detroit Pistons. There's no word yet on who the university might look to replace him. Beilein had already lost several members of the team that made it to the NCAA Sweet 16 this year, who declared early for the NBA draft. This one's got to hurt for you, Sven.
It does. I'm a Michigan alumni, and John Beilein was a great coach. He was, I think a lot of us who are Michigan fans were sort of tainted by, it's the school of Bo Schembechler, so we're obsessed with this idea of the quote unquote Michigan man. There's got to be somebody who's in the job for a lifetime and bleeds maize and blue and everything. Look, times have changed. I know that the sports ball worlds have definitely changed and evolved. But John Beilein, in addition to being a great coach who won, he was just a good guy. He ran a clean program, came in at the right time, cleaned up a program that had been brought down by scandal from the past decades and everything. So he really did a great job, and big shoes to fill. I'm sure they'll hire somebody with good coaching credentials, but man, you hate to see a guy like that go.
I've been most entertained by the talk online about Dan Gilbert because, Dan Gilbert owns the Cavaliers and he is a very visible MSU grad, an MSU fan. So kind of there's a lot of people in green kind of chuckling a little bit about the poach.
Sure, because, he restored, he made the Michigan State rivalry competitive again after many years where it was not.
Hazel Park is set to get a new mixed-use mid-rise development on the site of a former CVS and Movie Mania store on John R. as part of a vision to create a walkable downtown district. Oakland County 115 reports that developers plan a 4-story apartment building with ground floor retail and restaurant space at the site, which is directly across the street from Mabel Gray. The development would have around 30 studio, 1- and 2-bedroom units. That section of John R. is also reportedly set to undergo a so-called road diet to narrow vehicle lanes to slow down traffic and make it safer for pedestrians. Work on the new development is expected to start soon and wrap up in the spring of 2020. Hazel Park has for years been considered an up-and-coming suburb and is sometimes dubbed the next Ferndale. That's due to its affordable storefronts and home prices. It's also close to entertainment and nightlife spots like Ferndale, as well as Royal Oak and Detroit. The city in 2016 underwent a study by the Congress of New Urbanism, which found significant opportunities for new restaurants and retail in the John R. corridor. In recent years, new businesses including Mabel Gray, Sellerman's, and Joe Bar have opened up in the area.
So somebody apparently on Ferndale Forum, this is according to Cheyenne Nocerini, our partner here at Daily Detroit, made a joke about how, don't Ferndale my Hazel Park or something like that. But I mean, honestly, I'm glad to see this happen. Hazel Park has, some good potential, let's say.
It's got great bones and a ton of potential.
Great bones. I mean, it's about as densely developed and roughly the same size, I think, as Ferndale in population. Very, comparable. Good location near 75, 8 Mile, 9 Mile, everything like that. I mean, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see more things happen there, frankly, because it's a good thing for our entire region. We need more locations of economic prosperity, and we need to lift places out of their current predicaments, frankly. A new microbrewery could be coming to Livonia. Hometown Life reports that a pair of University of Michigan graduates and chemical engineers have proposed renovating a former carpet and flooring store on 7 Mile between Inkster and Harrison. They've submitted plans to the city's planning commission and will return for a public hearing on Tuesday. The small building reportedly hasn't operated as a business since 2010. The two partners envision adding an outdoor beer garden and additional parking lot. The two envision holding weekend hours and hope to begin work on the property this summer.
I saw a picture of this place. Man, it totally fits the hole-in-the-wall definition, but also I'm kind of excited by that. I love hidden, out-of-the-way, kind of weird places. Not to say this place will be weird.
To be clear, we have no foreknowledge of any weirdness planned at that place.
The Hello Kitty Cafe truck is making a comeback to Metro Detroit. This Saturday, the Rolling Cafe will stop at 12 Oaks Mall from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. The mall in Novi is a new location for the Sanrio mobile store that tends to draw large crowds wherever it goes. On the truck, you'll find giant Hello Kitty chef cookies, Hello Kitty plush toys, pedophores, macarons, and, everything Hello Kitty. The Japanese-made Hello Kitty was created in 1974, came to the U.S. in 1976, and has been a sensation, growing to become the second largest revenue-generating media franchise of all time. The pair of trucks have crisscrossed the nation since 2014.
I wonder what's the first largest revenue-generating media franchise? Star Wars, probably?
Pokemon.
Oh, wow. Rochelle Riley, who until recently was a popular Detroit Free Press columnist, has taken a newly created position with the city of Detroit. She'll become the city's first director of arts and culture. In the new role, she'll give shape and focus to the city's investments in arts and culture. She'll also work with artists, cultural organizations, and funders to further develop Detroit's arts community. Riley will be paid more than $134,000 a year by the city. She joined the Free Press in 2000. Riley recently took a buyout to end her career there and is a member of Michigan's Journalism Hall of Fame. She starts on her new job on May 27th.
I feel like this is yet another in a long parade of media professionals making at least a stop through of the Duggan administration.
The Monarch Club opened over the weekend to much fanfare and Instagram photos. The Rooftop bar in the Metropolitan Building, with its 3 patios, helps fill a void in a city that frankly doesn't have much by the way of rooftop drinking.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, there's a couple little things, but after seeing this place, nothing like this.
Right, Jer. So you went down for a media preview event, rubbed elbows with the who's who of Detroit's media. I mean, tell us about the Monarch.
And I'll start with this standard disclaimer that I do, and I think we always do when we first see a place. You know, Randy last week talked about Como's. So when we're talking about early days, I'll start out with it's early days. There's always bugs to be worked out. Your mileage may vary. Give them some time to get some legs. But man, I swore I was in New York or Chicago with this place. The views were gorgeous. The drinks were beautiful. The food was tight.
Yeah, you had a pretty killer photo posted of the view from the bar. It looked beautiful.
Yeah. There's so many different things because the great thing about this rooftop is it's basically 360 degrees through either the tower that you can view or the bar seats or one of the 3 patios. You can see around the entire building, and it's a really cool triangular shape. It also kind of gives me a little bit of a Game of Thrones feel, like because the tower is you can actually drink up in the tower, and there's battlements with like that are, you know, they're not designed actually for arrows, but it's inspired by castles where you've got the little like slits for arrows, and then up top there is statuary with like a knight's helmet and a shield. I mean, it's just amazingly beautiful. It's like one of the nicer castles in the Game of Thrones, like Highgarden or King's Landing.
We talked in an earlier episode about the renovation work to the Metropolitan Building and trying to preserve some of its historical details. What about the Monarch itself? What's it like inside?
I don't know what it was like before they did the work. I know that building took a lot of hits from architectural spelunkers, things like that. It didn't look like it aged a day. It was every single detail was very tight. They redid the entire roof with, I think it's a slate flooring. So you can go all the way to the edge and just like see the entire city. Every little detail was looked at. So there was lots of wood. There was marble on the inside. Everything matched, almost like it was always there.
It sounds pretty swanky. What about what's on offer in the bar itself?
Well, you've got your craft cocktails. You've got a variety of wine and beer and things like that. It is going to be in your craft cocktail price range. I mean, you're going to spend $13, $15, $16 on a cocktail up here, but that is not unheard of in downtown Detroit nowadays. I'd say this is totally worth it because, number one, they know what they're doing up there. So the different drinks that were ordered, everybody had it right. You know, it wasn't over poured. It wasn't under poured. It was like the way it was supposed to be, which I think you can appreciate as a former bartender.
Sure.
The food was good. You know, you had flatbreads, you had like little snackers like olives. You had a cauliflower steak that was really good. But here's the thing. There's no extra fee for the rooftop. So if you're going to spend this kind of money going out, I say, why not at least, roll the dice and give it a shot on this rooftop, because that alone makes it worth it. It turns it to an experience as opposed to just the drink.
Yeah. I'm going to take my wife there sometime when I get a chance. Meanwhile, Jer, I'm excited to say I went out and hit the town and tore it up on Saturday night. Paid my first ever visit to the Motor City Soul Club. Got to say hello to our good friend Dan Austin, who was manning the turntables there. Fantastic night. As I was saying to somebody else, it struck me as almost like an anti-Studio 54. I'm referring to the famous disco of the late 70s in New York City. At Studio 54, you had to be young, fabulous, good-looking, well-connected, some kind of combination of those factors to get in the door. Here, it's like, show your ID, go on in. And I mean, I saw like older couples, with like gray hair dancing with each other. I mean, it was just fantastic, just like an ultimate, like everybody just came to boogie, and it was wonderful.
That is similar to my experience with the few times I've gone. Motor City Soul Club is an everyman's party, and that's what I love about it, because Detroit is an everyman's city.
Yeah, it's like a democratic dance party, And it happens second Saturday of every month. You can find out more by visiting motorcitysoulclub.com.
And if anyone wants to buy Sven a drink next time, just email us. All right, thanks for listening. Before we go, thanks to our Patreon supporters. If you want to help push Detroit's conversation forward, join us at patreon.com/dailydetroit. It's only a few bucks a month, but it goes to making these great shows happen.
With that, I'm Sven Gustafson.
And I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other. We'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.